Welcome to Amy Kardashian and the Expert Show, where the experts share their knowledge, wisdom, and powerful insights to help you transform your business and personal life. However, this time I am interviewing a very close friend of mine, Sandy Kastel. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
Nice to have you. Well, Sandy, I want to have this show a little bit different because I know you're special. And I know you for a long time. You're very talented. You have many talents. You're an author, singer-songwriter. You were Miss Nevada. And you have so many different talents. So tell us what you're up to now these days.
Oh my gosh. Well, Amy, it's always great to be on your show. I love it. I think it's been a little bit of a time span since we were on the last one together, and we were talking about how to do something, and I forgot what it was. But I guess right now I'm doing a lot of what I've been doing in the past, but I've been focusing a lot more on a new show. I'm working on a new show.
And you're a great host. Let me tell you that. You are a great host. You interviewed me a couple of times. I always watch your shows, your interviews. You're amazing. You have so many talents.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. I was watching a show the other night, and I was thinking of you. You and I have known each other for what, about 3 or 4, 5 years?
Oh, more.
5 years now.
Yeah, more than that.
And we started out with Judy Morio.
Yes.
We did the Life Choices books, which obviously we're getting ready to do another one, which I'm excited about. So I had Judy on my show, and we're going to be putting out this next book. So I'm going to be doing a chapter for that.
Nice.
And I started with her, I think, back in 2012 also, doing the Life Choices books.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she
and
is.
You know, she have a show with me too as well.
I know.
Book reviews.
So I've been working on the new chapter for that book, working on a new show, which is a performing show, and I'm incorporating a lot of new songs, a lot of contemporary songs that we're going to do, and I'm going to have a different kind of band, which I can't talk about yet because it's going to be a surprise when we put it together, but it is going to be unique, and we're looking to put it in one of the hotels. We've already got some interest for doing that here.
Nice, nice.
Also, I've been working on, I've been doing some entrepreneurial things with investments in real estate, which has been very interesting and a lot of fun, renovating homes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're going from performer to author to investor. So, but that's all good. That's all part of the journey that you're in. Now, tell me more about the show that you're working on. What is going to be like a group, or I know you can't really tell us the secrets.
See, you're asking me things I can't tell you.
Oh gosh, but we see when we have a show, we want to know everything.
I know. Well, a little bit about it is that, as you know, I've been in the industry for a long time. I started out here in years ago. I grew up here, and my father's a musician, so I started out singing when I was in high school, then went on to the Miss Nevada pageant, Miss America pageant, and then I was doing theater here in Summer Stock Theater at UNLV, and then I was in Pinups at the Movies. Remember the show back at the Sahara Hotel, which is now SLS. So I was doing that show, which was about a 3-year run, and then I went to Los Angeles, and I came back here. And the minute I got back here, I started doing film, TV, commercials, and music.
I know, you've done everything. I mean, you're that.
Yeah.
But you know, you have so much talent. I have seen you on the stage. You really know how to, it just fills the stage up. I mean, you know how to really, you're present on the stage, the way you sing, the way you walk, the way you, I mean, I just love to see you perform.
Well, you know, Amy, your show is all about how to do something, right?
Yes.
And I know you said, well, okay, so let's talk about how to do something. The thing with being an artist and an entertainer and just doing anything in your life is that sometimes we start out doing one thing, and then sometimes it leads to something else. And just like talking about doing real estate and doing design or renovating a home, it's still all the same thing. You have a foundation, right? First of all, you have to learn your craft.
You have to learn your craft.
Right?
Nice. Okay.
Right. All right. As a singer, I had to do what? I had to learn my craft. I had to learn how to sing. And I started out as a kid singing, so I just kind of did it. My dad's in music. My mom was in music. She used to sing and dance when she was a kid. So I learned how to dance, right?
Yeah.
Because that's another part of being
The
in
singing,
musical theater,
yes,
right?
okay.
Singing, then dancing. Well, you have to go to classes to do that, right? You have to get your foundation. You have to learn what it is, the tools that you need to have for that craft, for that business that you're going to be in, right?
Correct.
And then also acting. So acting, I had to go to different teachers. And I did that through college. I did it through high school. I did it through college. And I went to acting classes. And then I also did improv when I was out in Los Angeles. All of those skills are things that help to build the foundation for what I was doing. And then even though, so as a student of the arts, then I actually went out and performed. And that's the actual being on stage and doing it, right? So you learn these skills, then you have to take it to the next level, and you have to put it out there and be in front of the audience and take the risks.
And face it.
And face it.
Yeah.
And you have to do practice, 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 right?
You never stop practicing.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like your voice. You want to
Right.
practice your voice, you
Right.
keep it, right? So you're going to have to practice all the time. So when we come back, you are going to give us more insights. Now
We're going
I
to come
got
back
you.
after a message from
Yes.
our sponsors.
Yes. We will be right back shortly.
Thank you for calling Denim Revival.
Hate to say goodbye to your favorite jeans? Well, now you don't have to, because Denim Revival is here for you. Mail us your jeans and our professionals will fix it right up. We offer you all kinds of alteration services, including invisible repairs, let-outs, taperings, and original hemming, or even have your own custom-made jeans. Quoted the best denim repair shop by GQ, Vogue Magazine, and LA Times. Denim Revival, your search for alteration and repair ends here.
And to you it ain't pretty little thing. Howdy, your baby.
And we are back with Sandy Kastel. Sandy, we're just having so much fun here. You know, I mean, every time I meet with you, you just lift me up and talk about, you're very passionate about what you do. You really project that. And everyone wants to learn how you get to this point, and you shared a little bit earlier, but please let us know more.
Well, one of the things that you and I have in common, Amy, and all the people that we do a lot with, like Judy Morio, and a lot of the authors that we work with, and a lot of the people that we surround ourselves with, we have certain things in common. We build a good foundation, right, like what we were talking about before, but then we go out and we create. We go out and actually practice what we preach, right?
Yeah.
We
Practice
get out.
what you
We
preach.
get
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely.
We get out there and we do it, and we get all the
Yeah.
experience. And I traveled around the country with a band when I was 18 and 19 years old. So I was out there. I was just singing, just putting it out there. But also when I came back to town, I had to learn other skills because now I was in theater. And I had to learn different skills. I had to learn to work with an ensemble of a larger group of people, right? So now you're part of something. You're doing teamwork, right?
That's a different thing.
Right.
Teamwork,
You're not
yeah.
just the only person out
Yeah,
there singing.
yeah.
So now you've got teamwork, which is very important. Then you might say, well, how did she go from this to that to this to that? Well, it's not something that we do overnight. It's something that gradually comes out of our creative abilities. So I've always been a singer. I've always been in music. That's always something that will stay with me and remain with me no matter how I do it in my life, right?
Yes.
But as you grow, you go, okay, well, now let's expand, and you want to start doing other things and maybe traveling and getting involved in a variety of different things. So I started writing songs. Now I was writing songs, and then I went to
You're
Nashville.
beautiful, right? I
And-
love one of your songs, the Nashville. Oh my goodness.
Nashville Tonight, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
A little country, I'm a little country,
Beautiful,
and a little rock and
beautiful.
roll,
I mean,
and
every
a little
time I watch
jazz.
it, I enjoy watching that
Yeah.
video of yours. Yeah.
So I decided to, because I was traveling around the country, I wasn't out performing on stage as much. So what I did is I took that time that I was traveling, the travel time, with a pad and a pencil, and I started writing songs.
Wow.
Now-
Something came out of that.
Right, so then I started writing songs, and of course the songs that I started out with came out country. I couldn't control it, it just did. It's kind of, my mom was country, my dad was jazz, and then I love
You
theater.
sing it very well.
But I have both
yeah.
of those. So I started writing songs, and then I said, well, what am I going to do with all these songs? So I went to Nashville and I started recording, and then I got recorded an album, then I recorded a second album, and then I talked with Judy, and then obviously she asked me, what can I do for you? Now Judy Morio, as you know already,
Yeah.
Judy Morio and I have known each other since I was 12 years old. And I learned from Judy how to do the basics of taking care of myself. She did a Wendy Ward program, remember, at Montgomery Ward's. And it was just a 2-week course. And that taught, at that course, it was the Wendy Ward Charm School. So that taught me the basics of taking care of this, right? Manicure, pedicure, makeup, hair, how to walk, how to dress, how to be presenting yourself in a good manner or whatever, to present yourself to the world. So another foundation was built with that, right? So now you take all of this, and now here I am. It was, 20 or so years later, maybe longer, that I ran into Judy. And I said, well, what are you doing? And she says, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm a motivational speaker. I've written books. And she said, what can I do for you? And I said, well, Judy, I've got my songs, I got my CDs, I've got this, I've got that. I want to write a book. She said, you want to write a book?
Here you go.
Yes. She said, well, we're going to start writing a series of books, and it's going to be called Life Choices. And we're going to bring 26 authors together. I would love for you to be part of it. So now I joined in there, and all of a sudden I'm an author.
Nice.
Like yourself.
Nice.
You took your story.
Yeah.
We talked about navigating difficult paths. I took my story, which was the story of what my mom had gone through with the cancer, and then at the same time that I was going through recording my album.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm sitting here, I was wondering, what is the title to my story going to be? And I remember I woke up from a dream and I said, my life has been a series of detours.
Here you go.
And that was my chapter, detours. My song was detours, and right. So it was like, well, what do you do when you hit a detour? Are you going to just sit down in the middle of the road and just give up? No, I didn't. Of course, you have to honor everything. If you come to a detour in the road, you have to decide, what am I going to do? So you review, you look back at what you've gone through, you analyze, and then you think, what do I want to do, and which way do I want to turn? And you make a choice. So you go, okay, honor all this, and then start from scratch again. But you're not really starting from scratch because you've got everything behind you that you brought forward with you. And you decide, okay, this time I'm going to turn that way. So you turn that way, but 100% you go that way. And now you're building something new. But everything that I've learned and all the foundations in all the areas of my life all come with me.
But they stay with you, yeah.
They stay with me.
And now makes you even better in everything.
Of course they do. It makes you who you are today.
Support each
That's
other.
right. That's
so when
right.
we come back, we're gonna talk about more about the detour.
We'll talk about the detours.
Yes.
And what comes after.
I know what comes after that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. With Sandy Kastel, having great conversation here, really like a sisters sitting and talking about the detour and what you learned throughout all this journey. So it's amazing just to listen to how many things you really had to take and conquer that, and then move on and then learn something else. But all of them, they come together. So take us on the detour here with you.
So now I go through this detour.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other things happened after that. As you know, I lost my mom in 2011. And then 6 months later, I lost my nephew to medically prescribed drugs, which was a big learning experience about that. And then I lost my niece to congenital heart failure. And then a month later, I lost my sister. Now, my mom and my sister, I both lost to cancer, which was lung cancer. They were both heavy smokers. But when this happened, I had just released, the year before, I had released my first single for Indiana Rain, that album. And then after all this happened, it was kind of like, I mean, talk about a detour. That was like...
That's pretty heavy
that was overload.
after each other.
That was overload. Yeah. So then what do you do? What did I do?
What do you do?
What did I do?
Yeah.
I said, I just couldn't go on and say, hey, look at me, I'm so great, so here's my next single. I just kind of put a halt to it. I put a halt to that, but what I did is I opened the door with WIMA, Women in Music and Arts.
I remember that.
And
I was in the first meeting on that.
You were at the first meeting.
The first meeting.
That's
yes.
right. And Women in Music and Arts was a lot to do with my heritage and mine growing up, and my mom's, my mom and dad both being in the arts, of course, but also mostly from my mom's side of the family. All of her sisters, there are 4 sisters, 4 girls, the Armstrong sisters, and they were all in the arts, you know, either singing or art, painting, drawing, all in the arts. And then even their mother was a photographer. And so it was kind of handed down. And so I founded WIMA, Women in Music and Arts, and I also started my radio show, the first radio show, which was
that too.
WIMA, W-I-M-A,
Yes.
Women in Music and Arts, empowering artists of all ages through education, mentoring, and
how good
scholarships.
she is? You're amazing. I'm sitting here interviewing you. You need to interview me.
Oh, come on.
You're amazing, really.
But, you know, the whole thing is, as we grow, obviously we all have some kind of history, you know, our parents, our grandparents, and whatever. Everything gets passed down. And that was my way of giving back. And I started the show, and I focused really for the last 5 years, most of the time, for the first 3 years for sure, I was focusing mostly on empowering everybody else, promoting everybody else, and really not really thinking about promoting myself, because I didn't really feel like I was ready to go out and be, you know, put myself in the limelight.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, why not? Why not? I mean, you worked all these years, and you have so much talent to be the Sandy Kastel, you know.
But this was my choice.
Okay.
This is my choice, and this was a detour. Another, you know, it was because it was a way for me to process.
All the things you went through.
I processed a lot of this, and it doesn't, you know, everybody mourns in a different way. And there is a process that goes along with that, and there are steps and there's phases and all this that they say. But I realized that what I did is I threw myself into focusing on the radio show, focusing on the WIMA, and focusing on what I could do for everybody else, which is a good thing. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And that was my process. Doesn't matter if it was your process or her process or anybody else's process. It was my process. And in that process, what happened is I went through a divorce also at that time, which was another process.
Another thing.
But what happened is I ended up buying a house. I had bought homes, renovated, designed, and been doing that for since 1984. I hadn't really thought about it as a business at all. But what happened is when I went through my divorce, and then after losing everybody and then going through the divorce, which a divorce is a death too, as you know, but it's also a rebirth time too. And so what happened is I bought a house to renovate. What happens when you're renovating?
You tell me what happened.
What happens when you're renovating is you're starting out with something that's from scratch that needs to be
fixed,
torn down, rented, gutted, and rebuilt. So what was I doing? I had lost everybody. I mean, not everybody. My dad's still alive. My sister's still alive.
And your marriage too. So you've
But
been married for 18 years, I believe, right?
Yeah, I lost
That's
a
long
lot.
time, yeah.
But also I had to process that. But in the process of losing something, you also take that and then you say, okay, now what am I going to do? What do I want to do with my life when I grow up? Right? So I was renovating the house. At the same time, I was renovating my life. And now which we're going to talk about in a few minutes,
Yeah.
I'm ready to start a whole new series.
Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Peter is a businessman. He was worried about his business. He was thinking about its growth day and night. One evening, after a long day at work, he searched the web for some help. Next day morning, he received a call. Our creative team then visited him. We helped and launched him a new campaign. Our campaign made him a business star. A day by day, new clients come. Now his business is growing fast. We keep showing him a leading light. A light made his business bright. Now Peter is happy with his business life. His wife is having now happy life. Are you worried about your business life and wish you could be like Peter's life? Then visit us today for more information. We intelligently help your business soar to the top and stay there.
And we are back with Sandy Kastel. Well, welcome back, Sandy.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm just enjoying, I'm really enjoying listening to your, even though I know a lot of it because I know you very well, but there is something special about what you're sharing today. And I'm glad you're really talking about things that a little bit differently and how you grieved after really losing so many members in your family, like one after another. But you found a way to really grieve in a nice way.
Well, the interesting thing that you and I have in common, and your story was different, and the Tears of Hope, right? The reason
Yes.
that you wrote that book was because you lost your brother.
Yeah. Yes.
And also because you started over, right?
I
You
did.
came here and you started over. So what we do, and this is what we've learned from a lot of people that we did the Navigating Difficult Paths with, that very first Life Choices book, is life is a series. It is a series of different things that we go through. And I say, my life has been a series of detours, and it's all led me here to you today, right?
Yes.
So what can we do when we go through something that is a detour, that's a bump in the road? And chances are we're at least going to have one in our lifetime. Okay, maybe 2 or 3 more. But the point is what do? Do we just sit down? Do we just give up? Do we just throw our hands up in the air and say, I just can't do this anymore? Okay, most people will feel like that at first. That's our first thing. Oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. But if we can just keep going and just put one step in front of the other and just focus on one thing at a time, and sometimes it may not seem like we know what we're doing or where we're going, but if we keep moving forward, at least we're taking steps that eventually will lead us somewhere where we can look back and say, oh, that's how I got here, right? Okay, so that's basically where I am today has a lot to do with where I have come from,
Absolutely.
right? And in fact, one of the lyrics in my song is, what is it? Sometimes it takes a detour on the way to where you go. Wonder which way you're gonna turn when you get to the end of the
Yeah, beautiful
road.
voice you have.
Sometimes you take a detour. It doesn't matter where or when. You don't know where you might end up when you're coming from where you've been. Life takes a detour, right?
Definitely.
So the point is that life is living. Living is life. If we give up and we throw the towel in, well, we're not living anymore, right? So we just keep going and we try something different. Sometimes people are, going through different things. If they're an empty nester, all of a sudden their kids aren't around and they don't know what to do with themselves, right? So what do? We go out and try something different, try something new. That's what I did. I tried some new things. It doesn't mean that I didn't have challenges along the way. It doesn't mean that I didn't have times when I sat there and just said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do today? Doesn't mean that I didn't have days where I woke up in the morning and I didn't really feel like doing something. I had some of those days.
I think that's what it is. Most
Yeah.
of the people, they think that, okay, well, if you overcame something, that means you never cried or you never went down
No.
on yourself or you never
Not-
really reached that point. So how could you understand
Right.
what I went through?
Right.
But the truth is you went there. You know what it feels, but then you lift yourself up.
And we have to give ourselves permission to go through stuff. We have to say, okay, it's okay. Okay, you're having a day where you watched a movie, maybe I watched a movie and it triggered something because I lost my family. And all of a sudden I'm crying and I have no idea why I'm crying because the movie had nothing to do with death or dying. But for some, maybe it had something that touched me and touched my heart and made me remember something. And all of a sudden I'm getting emotional. Well, okay, it's not the end of the world. So let it come out. I let it come out. But then right after, just like a child, when a child cries, 5 seconds later they're going, oh, they're laughing and doing something. So there's something about allowing ourselves to go through the process and to feel the feelings that we go through, honor them, give them on, honor them. Because I lost 5 members or 4 members of my family. That's a lot to take, and nobody can know what that feels like, just like no one can know what it feels like for you when you lost your brother. But you go through that, and then you have days that you're going to go, maybe you go 1 step forward, you go 2 steps back. You go 1 step forward, you go 2 steps back. But then pretty soon you're going 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Now you're starting something new, and before you know it, you have either a new career, you have somebody new in your life, you have optimism about what you are, what the opportunities that are coming into our lives. Instead of just sitting down and going, well, I'm just going to give up on my life because, oh, I lost and whatever. And it could be something as simple as losing a job. It doesn't have to be that you have a death in the family or that you lose somebody. But for me, that was the most powerful and the biggest transitional part of my life that I've gone through so far was losing them. And in fact, last year I remember having a moment where I had 1 week. I had this 1 week, and I was doing a lot of things. I had my show going, and I was doing this, and I was doing the real estate, and there was 1 week where I just thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I really felt that. And then I talked to my friend, Cindy Davis, and she said, you're depressed. And I said, I'm not depressed. I don't feel depressed. I don't think of myself as being depressed. She said, well, that's what depression is. Now, so you say, okay, well, I hear about people being depressed, and I think of somebody being, down, they feel like that, being depressed. I didn't feel that way. But it was
it came to you in a different way.
It was 1 week, and and then at the end, but by her saying that, it gave me permission to even think that I might possibly have been a little depressed, even though I didn't even realize it.
Because we look at depression as the one who sleeps all the time or, in different eye, but we don't look at it like only, in different way comes to different people.
So what I realized is it was kind of like this realization that came to me that, oh my gosh, this is the biggest transition of my life. And I am making a huge transition. I mean, it's a huge transition because it was 5 years since everybody had died. And I think it was kind of like, oh, okay, I have processed a lot of this, but maybe I didn't realize it on this level, but now I'm realizing it. So we give ourselves permission. Now, the other thing that we have to do is find some kind of balance in our lives, right? We're going. And I'm going to go off what you just said a few minutes ago when we were off air, is that you've been going and going and going. You're working yourself too much, probably.
Correct.
Right? But it's okay because you're happy about it. You're making progress. It's like when somebody's going to school, they're work, study. Then we have to take a moment for ourselves. Definitely. And I've had to do it. I've had to go get a massage. Take a bath. Put some Epsom salts in the bathtub.
Do something.
And just veg out. Relax. And remember that life has to be about balance, because we have to eat. We need some kind of exercise.
So when we come back, we're going to give them more.
Oh, we have another break. Oh, my gosh. And we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Thank you for calling Denim Revival.
Hate to say goodbye to your favorite jeans? Well, now you don't have to, because Denim Revival is here for you. Mail us your jeans and our professionals will fix it right up. We offer you all kinds of alteration services, including invisible repairs, let-outs, taperings, and original hemming, or even have your own custom-made jeans. Quoted the best denim repair shop by GQ, Vogue Magazine, and LA Times. Denim Revival, your search for alteration and repair ends here.
And to you it ain't pretty little thing. Howdy, your baby.
And we are back with Sandy Kastel, enjoying this conversation. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
nice to, I thank you for sharing all this with us, because that's really a lot of, I'm sure a lot of people were inspired to hear your story and the way you're telling us. So
Well, you know,
continue, please.
It's easy to talk with you, Amy.
Thank you.
And probably because we've gone through a lot of the same things, and we're also both interested in helping other people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of the thread.
We understand what that
kind of
means,
ties
yeah.
us all together. But to kind of wrap this up, because the whole idea about your show is, you know, teaching people how to. And even though we've kind of got around about this in one way or the other, the main thing is that life is life, and life is about living and experiencing and growing. And sometimes it's also about death. And it's not literal death always. Sometimes it's a death of a pattern, and we want to give up old patterns. And sometimes we want to develop new patterns.
I never heard that before. This is a nice one. Okay.
And in my life, I didn't really realize until what happened to me, because pretty much my whole life I've had a lot of positive things that have happened in my life, being in the Miss Nevada pageant, being in Miss America, being able to perform the minute I started singing and going out into the world. I've always been able to perform and do shows. I even did another detour at one point in my life and was in the clothing business. But the bottom line is it's been creative. And that time in my life where I lost everybody was a huge transition for me. But it's also been, it's also setting up the next part of my life. Mm-hmm. So the next part of my life
Next chapter.
is the next
preparing
chapter.
Preparing
Exactly.
you for the next chapter.
Exactly. And we all have different times in our lives when we go through something, even if it's a minor detour. I think that learning to be able to find a way to go forward, honor what it is that you went through, reevaluate what it is that you learned from the experience, and then pick something to try and go forward to do and incorporate something new in
We
your life.
always learn something from our experiences,
Right.
definitely. Now,
And
before
find
we
and
fin-
find balance and
Find
find
balance,
balance and
yes,
remember
and that's you're telling me
and
that
remember
now,
that
I
it's
know
very
that.
important. I also talked about staying
Yes.
fit and fabulous forever.
Yes.
And one of the things is to eat a good balanced meal, to get rest, to nurture yourself, because unless you nurture yourself, we can't give to
Yeah.
somebody else. And then to follow you pursue your passions,
Absolutely.
follow your dreams, and to explore life and be happy that we have the opportunities that we do
Look at how
in front of
vibrant
us.
you are, because you do, whatever you're taught right now is you're doing it.
Yes,
You
I
look
am.
fabulous, and we're blessed. I'm blessed to have you here. I'm sure they enjoyed watching you. So can you give them your website?
It's simple. It's Sandy Kastel. That's SandyKastel.com.
Sandy Kastel. Would
Yes.
you come again?
I would love to.
I really enjoyed having
Anytime,
you here.
Amy.
Anytime,
Yeah,
right?
anytime.
Just
Yes.
a phone call
Yes.
away.
And I
Phone
love
call
your
away.
audience.
Yes.
They're so receptive.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Appreciate the relationship I have with you, friendship.
you.
I can call you anytime, and we really have deep understanding. And I appreciate what you do with WEMA and how you like to help others. I love your heart.
Well, I appreciate what you do for
Yes.
everybody else too, and I think that's why we're in the sisterhood together.
We are definitely. And thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure you enjoyed listening to Sandy as much as I did. I appreciate you as well, and always remember to stay focused on your purpose. Until next time, take care.